Waking up to the presence of an ignoramus in the morning was akin to inhaling poison that would linger throughout my workday. Each sunrise brought with it the burden of enduring the condescension of an elite chief, a product of some lofty institution of higher learning. On a particular day, my tolerance reached its breaking point. Perhaps you should escalate your grievances to our superiors, she taunted. After all, I belong to the cream of society. Nobody will heed the complaints of a dropout like you. Her smugness was palpable, but a single encounter with the passing company president swiftly altered her demeanor. "Good day, I'm Daniel Smith," he introduced himself. "I landed a sales position at this company's branch straight out of high school. My father's motorcycle accident left him incapacitated, rendering him unable to provide for our family. So I opted to forgo college and joined the workforce to support them, thanks to a referral from my father." The camaraderie among the employees at this company made each workday a delight. My boss is kind, and my coworkers are a breeze to work with, so work-related stress rarely crosses my mind. Yet today, I can't shake off this feeling of melancholy. "Smith, isn't your meeting today with the head office?" a colleague inquired. "Yeah, it is." "Seriously, that means they'll be here, right? I should have taken the day off." "You don't interact with them directly, so just keep it to yourself. I'm already feeling down this morning." Before my colleague could continue, they abruptly changed the topic. "Why was nobody at the entrance to greet me? I was expected, and this is how they welcome me," they grumbled. "Forget it, let's just get to work," they muttered, then hurried away. "Remember that backstabber?" a disgruntled voice, now left with me, seethed. "This place is full of ingrates. It's infuriating that I have to bend over backward just to communicate with them. I sincerely apologize. I didn't anticipate your early arrival." She's Manager Jones, frequently commuting from headquarters for meetings and such. With a degree from a prestigious university, she was recruited as a seasoned executive candidate. Unfortunately, her demeanor often veered into arrogance, belittling employees at the subsidiaries. "They're all just typical uneducated incompetents," she'd sneer, making me look like a fool. "Let's just get this over with. Could you kindly wait a bit longer for another key person to join us? They're en route." "What, you expect me to wait?" My role is to hit the ground running upon arrival from headquarters. This incompetence is beyond belief. I deeply apologize. You're here 20 minutes ahead of schedule, yet you're being unreasonable. I yearned to retort, but the person on the other end was from the head office, an elite recognized by headquarters. I hesitated, unsure of the repercussions if I dared to challenge her authority. We grumble amongst ourselves at the subsidiary, but when it comes down to it, we never confront them, always enduring silently. As I carried on with my usual routine, driving to work one morning, I noticed an elderly lady in distress crouched in the middle of the road. It was clearly an emergency, but those around me either avoided involvement or didn't know how to react, feigning ignorance as they passed her by. "Are you all right, ma'am?" I rushed to her side, but she couldn't respond. Her breathing was labored, and she struggled to speak. "I'm calling an ambulance right away," I announced, swiftly dialing 911. Once the ambulance arrived, we all accompanied the elderly lady to the hospital. "It's all right for you to head home," the nurse reassured us. "We'll take care of her until her family arrives." Having already informed the company of my tardiness and concern for the grandmother's well-being, I opted to stay until her family showed up. Thankfully, her condition wasn't critical, and she was discharged after a few days. We breathed a collective sigh of relief. Then, a few weeks later, out of the blue, I received a transfer order to the headquarters branch office, a directive straight from the president. Contemplating the move, a colleague offered their perspective. "It's a testament to your hard work being recognized. Embrace it and give it your all." Encouraged by their words, I resolved to accept the transfer. My first day at headquarters proved to be quite the whirlwind. Deciding to greet each department individually, I encountered the chief in the corridor and hastened to offer my greetings, but she caught sight of me and shot me a disdainful glance. "What brings you here? Aren't you a bit out of your element?" "Good morning, Chief. I've been reassigned here." "Oh, you're being relocated. What on earth are they thinking?" Disregarding my greeting, the chief launched into a tirade. "Starting my day by sharing airspace with an uneducated imbecile is a surefire way to ruin my entire workday. I apologize if I've inconvenienced you, Chief. Please spare me the pleasantries. Just steer clear of me. I'm busy. Don't get in my way." Clearly in a foul mood, the chief dismissed me with a wave of her hand, as if shooing away bothersome insects. It was evident that any further attempt at conversation would be futile, so I resigned myself to returning to my duties. As I returned to the floor where the chief was, I overheard her berating her subordinate. "You're incompetent. How can you mess up something so simple? Even a new recruit could handle this." "I apologize, colleague." The employee, visibly distraught over her mistake, clenched her fists, lowered her head, and endured the scolding. "If this is how it's going to be, I'd rather have someone else working for me than you. You're no longer of any use to me. Clear out your desk and get out of my sight." With those cutting words, she turned to face me, our eyes meeting. Already discontented, her expression soared further as she glared at me. "Didn't I tell you to stay away from me this morning? Please, Chief, hear me out. I have something to discuss with you today." "Enough. Everyone here is arrogant. I don't have time for incompetent fools like you." With those words, the chief stormed out of the room, slamming the door with all her might. Concerned, I approached the employee who had just faced the chief's wrath, wincing at the resounding crash of the door. "Is this typical of the chief's behavior?" I inquired. According to the employee, it wasn't just typical, it was a daily occurrence. "She's always disrespecting me," he lamented. Worried that the chief might overhear, he hushed me, cautioning, "Shh, she might hear you." Aware of the potential consequences if the chief caught wind of his complaints, I did my best to soothe his frustration. "I've endured this for too long," he confided, shuffling to his desk and retrieving a white envelope from a drawer. "Please don't tell me that's a resignation letter," I implored. "Unfortunately, that's exactly what it was," he confirmed, something he'd been contemplating for some time. "At my previous workplace, every day was serene and fulfilling. But ever since the chief arrived, it's turned into a nightmare," he lamented, tracing the surface of his desk with a heavy sigh. The clutter of documents and notes bespoke his dedication to his job, despite the upheaval. "I understand your frustration. It's disheartening to see your hard work undermined by just one person, the chief." I sympathize. "You've poured your heart into this job, longer than she's been here, and you've excelled." But his frustration hung palpably in the air, with no outlet in sight. "The chief might say otherwise, but there are surely colleagues who trust and rely on you. Stay a bit longer for their sake. I'll help shoulder the burden. You're not the one who should walk away," I encouraged. "What do you mean?" he queried, his curiosity piqued as I made my way to confront the chief, leaving him pondering behind. "We can't allow any more employees to be mistreated like him. That's why I'm here," I declared, trailing after the chief until I found her in the break room, sipping tea. "Mind if I join you?" I inquired. The chief glanced up, her expression pained. "You're still here? You're as persistent as a fly." "I'm just trying to take a break. Please give me some space," she sighed wearily, likely drained from the recent confrontation. Summoning my courage, I addressed her firmly. "Chief, I'll be conducting a thorough investigation into your treatment of our employees. Depending on the findings, appropriate actions will be taken." My direct statement caught the chief off guard. "What are you implying? Are you trying to play the hero to shield incompetence?" "No, that's not my intention. Why don't you go run to your superiors with this? I'm an elite, you know. I have the backing of those above. Nobody will pay heed to a dropout like you from the subsidiary," she retorted dismissively, waving her hand as if to brush off the matter. Suddenly, a man emerged from the other side. "Smith, there you are. How's everything going?" It was the president. "I'm doing my best, thanks to your support." "Ah, hello, Mr. President. What a pleasant surprise to see you here. What happened to the grumpy chief from earlier?" "She's putting on a facade of excellence for those higher up the chain." "I'm glad to hear you're thriving. Have you connected with the new branch manager?" "Huh? What new branch manager?" The chief looked puzzled, her gaze unfocused. "He's standing right in front of you." "Hadn't you been briefed?" The president chuckled. "This inept employee from a subsidiary company. You're quite the comedian, boss," the chief scoffed, joining in the laughter. The president, however, regarded her with suspicion. "What are you talking about? Are you suggesting I'm joking? Understand this. He's now the brand manager of this branch office. It's impolite to label him incompetent," the president admonished. "What on earth?" The chief shot me a scowl. "You didn't bother to inform me earlier, did you?" "I've already informed the rest of the department." "Oh dear, such a rude and ill-informed individual." The chief's face flushed with anger, and she looked on the verge of collapse. Observing the situation with reluctance, the president finally spoke up. Let me shed some light on this remarkable opportunity. This company belonged to his father. Due to a car accident injury, his father couldn't manage it, so I took over. Is he the former president's son? The chief inquired. That's correct. I've been urging him to relocate to headquarters, but he's quite adamant about staying put, the president explained. I apologize. I have a fondness for that place, and I found it satisfying, I replied. What prompted your unexpected arrival here? Why did you just continue at the subsidiary? The chief interjected, momentarily forgetting the president's presence as she directed her query at me. The president, accustomed to seeing the chief in a more composed state, was visibly taken aback, his eyes widening in surprise. I made a heartfelt plea to him. He's my mother's savior, her benefactor, I clarified. What about the president's mother? The chief pressed further. Yes, the elderly lady I rescued a few weeks ago happened to be the president's mother. When he arrived at the hospital entrance and found me waiting for her family, I was surprised. I later learned that he was the one who had immediately come to her aid, calling for an ambulance while others ignored her. I felt he deserved better than being relegated to a subsidiary. So, you personally appointed him as branch manager, the president confirmed. That's correct, he nodded. I had my doubts about my qualifications when I was first appointed as branch manager, I admitted. Coming from a subsidiary, it was a sudden shift to leading at the head office. But after hearing from the president and receiving a call from my father urging me to support the company he had built, I made up my mind. That's precisely why I've appointed him as branch manager. Moving forward, I expect you to show him the respect he deserves and heed his directives, the president admonished the chief sternly before exiting the room. That's the explanation, chief, I reiterated as I faced her once more. You've been mistreating not only your subordinates but also those under your direct supervision. I understand the frustration and pain of being belittled simply because of lacking formal education. No. The chief collapsed into her chair, tears streaming down her face as her pride took a severe blow. It was no small shock for her to suddenly find herself outranked by someone she had long looked down upon for their perceived lack of education. She even threatened to have me dismissed. With that, my ordeal came to an end. The following day, a comprehensive investigation into the chief's conduct was conducted. Numerous employees and subordinates came forward with accounts of her egregious behavior. As a result, disciplinary action was taken. Upon receiving the news, the chief left the company without a word, her spirits seemingly drained. The chief appeared visibly distraught. Considering her high self-esteem, it was understandable. By the way, are you certain you want me to replace the chief? I inquired. I have full confidence in you, the president affirmed. With the chief dismissed, he appointed the individual who had previously endured her wrath. This employee had a long tenure with the company and showed unwavering dedication to their work. Naturally, I had thoroughly vetted his past performance, knowing he had first-hand experience of the frustrations and mistreatment under former Chief Jones. I knew he wouldn't repeat the same mistakes and would prove to be a compassionate leader who understands his employees' feelings, I explained. As for myself, I endeavored to approach my role from the perspective of the employees, not solely as a branch manager. Drawing from my positive experiences with a subsidiary I had previously worked with, I conducted regular interviews with staff, seeking their input. I also organized training sessions for employees in leadership roles, striving to foster a more supportive environment. Through these efforts, the company's culture gradually improved, resembling the positive atmosphere of the subsidiary where I began my career. Will Smith, I apologize for what happened with Jones, but thanks to your efforts, this company is thriving, the president acknowledged. Oh, I'm apprehensive, I admitted. At a later meeting, I found myself summoned to the president's office for a casual coffee chat. He wanted to discuss the recent developments in the workplace. I'm not getting any younger, eventually. I envision Will stepping into my role, the president shared. With all respect, Mr. President, I don't see myself as presidential material, I responded. Why not? Your father would have wanted the same, he countered. I aspire to remain aligned with the employees, working alongside them to support the company and engage with our customers. Once in the president's seat, that connection may become strained, I explained. The president frowned at my words before abruptly excusing himself. You have a unique sense of humor. Most would leap at the opportunity, he remarked upon his departure. Am I considered eccentric? I wondered aloud. No, it's refreshing. It's exactly the kind of mindset we need in a smith, he assured, giving my shoulder a firm tap. You have a meeting coming up, don't you? Get back to work.